Every last Sunday of September, the Philippines celebrates National Seafarers Day. The worldwide shipping sector would be incomplete without the presence of Filipino seafarers. Data from the Maritime Industry Authority say the Philippines deployed over 400,000 seafarers yearly from 2017 up until the COVID-19 pandemic. And even when the pandemic affected shipping worldwide and caused a 57% drop in Philippine seafarer deployment in 2020, there were still over 200,000 Filipinos who manned the vessels plying the world that year. But seafarers, like other overseas Filipino workers, deal with issues affecting their welfare. With the sector mostly invisible, how do they fight for their rights? Hello, I'm Michelle Abad, and welcome to At Home sa Abroad, Rappler's one stop show for everything related to the Filipino diaspora. Here we discuss topics important to Filipinos all over the world, from concerns and welfare of overseas Filipino workers to celebrating Pinoy success stories to reconnecting with cultural roots at iba pa. For today's episode, I'm speaking to attorney Niko Tolentino, a seafarer turned lawyer who now represents fellow seafarers and their families in times they need legal assistance. Attorney Nico, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michelle. Good day to everyone.
All right, so I'll start with more of a personal story or the personal background to what led you into your career now. So tell us about what led you to pursue work as a seafarer. Is your family in the same career line?
I have some uncles who are seafarers, but actually most of my family are priests.
Oh.
And no, we have a long line of priests in my family. Even my kuya went to the seminary.
Mm-hmm.
So, lagi ako niyayabangan about life in the seminary. I was surprised I was sent to MAAP by my parents. Uh, and it was a good experience kasi malayo ka rin sa family and everything. Yeah.
Pero paano ka napunta dun, sir? Like,
Actually, I don't like to study at that time. I was,
okay.
parang, uh, parang PMA.
Mm.
Not the one from the north na talagang pahinga muna. I really wanted that because I had a heavy schedule or role during my high school. I was a mayor or student leader at the time, and I think I want a break, maybe 1 year vacation. But then my dad, he assisted my cousin to enroll and start in MAAP in Bataan. Right
Mhm.
there and then, he was convinced that I should also go there. Because at that point in my life, I think I was very busy in martial arts. And he said, "Oh,
Mm.
you can do better there because there's training there." That's what my dad
Okay.
said. So ayun,
Okay.
and the rest is history. Don't ask how much history.
Okay. Sige. But then, was it something like, oh, it's a good job, it's a good career, you could make good money out of it, you can be like your uncles. May ganyan po bang parang naging usapan?
Uh, I did not come from a really well-to-do family, but
Okay.
we're okay.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Uh, and my dad is a non-practicing optometrist. Okay,
I
and
see.
I asked him several times why he did not continue practicing, because sometimes when we are at malls, he would say, ito si Acevedo or this guy, ito junior ka lang to, ito mas bata sa akin to. Then I asked him, ba't hindi mo tinuloy yung practice
Mm-mm.
mo? Then he said to me, and it struck me even up to now. Sinabi niya sa akin, because sometimes that was the 1990s, 80s, I think, when he was practicing. Sabi niya sa akin, ang puhunan ng optometrist, let's say it's around 300 or 200 at a time. Then I'm gonna charge my clients around 1,000 for one pair of glasses. Or ayan, sabi niya ganun. Sometimes I don't feel good about it. Yun ang part na di ko maget from my father. But I think now I understand it na when you follow your passion. Uh, Actually kahit wala namang ano, it is the reward itself. But to really answer your question, well, I was actually helping my family just by studying in math, 'di ba?
Mm, I see.
I was told that, oh, you're already helping us, so stick. up to the finish line.
Mm.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So, kamusta naman po tayo dun sa experience in school? What was it like to study in MAP? Or
Uh,
rather, can you explain what MAP stands for pala?
MAP is an academy, maritime academy
Mhm.
run by AMUSUP,
Okay.
Seafarers Union, the largest one in the world. That they also have
Mhm.
hospitals and housing for seafarers. So this one started around uh, 1990s, okay, 99, I think. Forgive me
Mhm.
if I'm wrong. Then I was part of the third batch. It's class 2005. So one of my main motivation then is to be part of the first. Kasi I told myself if I'm gonna be part of the first few batches, at least maybe I could make a name for myself, sabi ko. Kasi ang hirap na gumawa ng name if you're gonna study in, a long storied university, di ba? Alam na natin yan. So, that's MAP. The experience was actually, it's a mix of academics and, of course, rigorous training. It's a disciplined life. It's very much patterned from West Point and, of course, PMA, because our president, Vice Admiral Santos, is still the president. Uh, he is really into developing the cadets, the midshipmen, into their full capacity as leaders for the maritime industry. Of course, it's all because of Captain Gregorio Oka, who hired him to lead the MAP. Yes, ma'am.
Mhm. Okay. And like there, I would assume, or maybe you can also clarify this for people who have the same assumption, no, that uh, when you go into a maritime school or maritime academy, there's different courses or programs of study. Like in other colleges, now maybe you could be an engineer or a cadet or a different type of
Mm.
seafarer. So, what did you study to be?
I studied to be a marine engineer.
Okay.
Our academy is really focused into at least three, I think. It's a marine engineering. Then we have the deck or transportation, marine transportation. Those are the people who
Mhm.
become captains of the ship. Then we are the ones
Mhm.
in charge of the engine room.
Mhm.
Then I think we also had at one point, and I think it's still continuing. It's called the bridging program. If you're a graduate of, I think, some allied engineering, you could go to MAP, have yourself sponsored by some shipping companies. They will give you an exam. Then if you qualify, basically you're also a scholar, and technically you're also an alumni. But of course, you did not have the full MAP experience compared to us. Usually, it's a mini program, the bridging program. Then you become a marine engineer also.
Mhm. Okay. So after that experience of, it's interesting how you described that the MAAP was similar to being in a military academy. No, so that's new information actually to me and possibly your viewers as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. So after that experience in school, ano yung experience ng going into sea? Parang sabak ba yun agad after graduation or paano ba? And what was it
Actually,
like to be at sea?
I I think you should go to the traineeship because that's a big part of our lives in MAAP. Way back, on our first year, it's very hard. Of course, you adjust everything, but the reward is actually after the first year, you go to the traineeship. It's called the traineeship uh, Oka, of course, named after the brother of Captain Oka. Then what we did there is we went around the Philippines, promoting MAAP and seafaring. I was actually part of it's called the Board of Admissions. We went around several high schools, um, of course, to sell MAAP and the maritime profession. We actually overpromise sometimes that, oh yeah, we have a diving group, things like that.
Hmm. Okay. And what
Yes.
was it like to to work yeah, as a seafarer? Because we always hear
Mm,
in the news, for example, that
mm,
it's physically and mentally exhausting. People
yes.
they miss their families, walang internet. Na experience na din ba yun, sir?
Yeah, I was not part of the yung mga seafarers na talaga nakaka-receive lang ng mga ng mga letters, no, love letters, letters during sa their time in port, dinadala ng mga agents yan. I was glad that I'm glad actually that naabutan ko na internet. I think I got this service yung parang text, email to text. So when a certain person here in the Philippines reply, it will be converted into email. Then you're gonna receive it in the ship. Then it's
Mhm.
also good because I started in it's BW shipping. They have a good support system. So the email system work. Of course, other companies have it too. But all of us, nagkikwentuhan kami dyan through the email. Tapos tanungan din, syempre, pag di mo alam masyado yung isang bagay when you're still mastering it. So, and it's really rigorous. Para may isip mo na, kaya pala meron kaming part ng life namin sa MAAP na really have to lead a disciplined life. Hindi lang physically, but also mentally. That's
Mhm.
why we have time for each event. It's announced. It's actually militarily style announced like that. Then because in a ship, you cannot say I don't want to do duty. Hindi pwedeng ganun eh. When
Yeah.
it's your duty, it's your duty. You have to perform that. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So I think it reflected, especially the time during our time in the shipboard training in our own ship, the SKFO. It was like mirroring the exact thing happening on board ships, which is focused on safety and, of course, protecting the environment while delivering the
Mhm.
goods.
Okay. So you were still able to constantly communicate with your family even during times when you were deployed. And
Yeah,
how
that's
long
not.
would you usually be deployed at a time?
That time, I think we can still be deployed up to 12 months, I think.
So you would go an
But
entire
yes,
year
yes.
straight.
Mm.
Okay.
But of course, it actually won't go that far. It depends on you. If you'd like, you could request uh, to go home early, but not too early. Maybe around 8 months or seven months like that. Uh, of course, we have heard stories of seafarers who are staying on board actually for years. This was before
Mm,
the MLC or the labor convention. So that
mm,
was ages ago. So right now it's being controlled because it really affects your social skills and
yeah.
your health. Of course, when you're at sea and the food is the same, you're not getting
Mm-mm.
the same amount of nutrients and social interaction that you have here on land.
All right. So I'll bounce off of that into our next
Mm.
topic now. So it's about, the larger picture, the issues affecting seafarers, no?
Mm.
So the Philippine seafaring industry was in national headlines over the past year because of its compliance issues with the international maritime standards of the European Union. So while the EU recently deemed the Philippines compliant with the
Mhm.
standards of training, certification, and watchkeeping for seafarers, or the STCW, it took almost 2 decades of deficiencies
Mm.
to get here. So, as someone who studied in a maritime academy during this time, did you notice personally any shortcomings in the education provided, or at least difficulties among aspiring seafarers in landing jobs afterwards?
Um, I've actually experienced this both while studying and also while teaching in MAP. Because I was the engineering head for the Japanese program, not only for MAP cadets, but for their scholars all throughout the Philippines. So first, during my stay in MAP as a cadet or a student, uh, because that time the focus of Captain Oka was really to deliver top-notch maritime education. That most, if not all, of the required trainings are already incorporated in our curriculum. So that's why when we went outside, when we graduated, we were actually puzzled that, oh, why are we repeating the same subjects? Because some of them are actually incorporated into the curriculum. I think the current move now or the trend now is what MAP had done ages ago, 2 decades ago, to incorporate whatever that can be taught or needed as trainings, and then get this recognized. This should be taught already while inside, because it's harder to it's harder to regulate. Training centers, it's easier for to regulate the maritime education side, especially these various schools. But that's just my opinion. Of course, maybe others will have their opinions too.
Yes, of course. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because we also try to humanize these issues. No, actually, we have another
Mm.
episode on At Home So Abroad just on this topic
Yeah.
on the compliance
Mm.
for the EU. But then it's nice to hear the personal stories of the
Mm.
seafarers who did study this and experience the
Yeah.
curriculum. Mhm.
There's a constant pooling among the
Yeah.
different stakeholders. Seafarers, they would say that what we would like is for you to recognize that we're doing this on board, and there's a provision in STCW when you're doing this on board. There's certain equivalencies, but then sometimes the administration will tell, no, we would like you to have this training because some people have this or other states have this.
Right.
When in fact we could take a kinder approach or a gentler approach, much favorable to our seafarers, so they will have less training and more time with their family and loved ones. That's the whole point of seafaring, anyway.
Hmm. Okay.
Mhm.
So, how long did you work as a marine engineer?
As a marine engineer, let me check. Almost 10 years. Let's say
10 years.
9 years, because I was
Okay.
hospitalized. Right, I got a bad back.
Oh.
For
Mm.
one year, I was like Bruce Lee. For one year, bad back. Then I nursed myself, of course, with my therapists, and
Actually,
yeah,
before we go
and
on to
after
the next
yeah.
question,
Mhm.
okay, tell me about that incident. What led to the injury, if that's
Uh,
okay
of,
with you?
of course, it's already a closed event. What happened was, I think I was working. I was too hard on myself. Maybe it's because I was from up. I was thinking maybe I'm a Superman. Some people do have Superman complex, especially when you have this various training. So at least I know now that you're no Superman. That you really have to take care of your body. I think most seafarers now they know how to lift. Yeah, they
Mm,
know when not to push the limits of their body. But maybe I was not aware. I don't know. Maybe it's from my martial arts training too. Maybe I pushed too much or I worked too hard.
okay.
Then I got a bad back. I got off in Texas. I got an operation there. And funnily enough, my doctor was asking if I want to be a doctor. I said no.
Mm.
And then he asked again, would you like to be a priest? And I said, why? That's it. That's for another time. But that's the
Okay.
way. That's how I remember it.
Okay. So the doctor asked if you want to be a doctor or
A
if you want to be
doctor.
a priest,
Yeah.
but you ended up becoming a lawyer. So to our
Yeah, I
next
actually
question,
told him. I told
yes,
him
what
2 months
happened?
ago.
So
Um,
mm, what made you decide to be a lawyer, sir?
or what made me not decide to be a doctor in the US? Something like that, right? I have most of my mother's side is already in the States. So, and most of my father's sides are already there. So, in my mind, I don't need to go there anymore. I like it here. Some people may think it traditional, or maybe I'm foolish or old, or thinking like that. But I want to be here. I want to be where I grew up. I want to develop who I am fully here. So maybe that's why I became a lawyer too. But during the COVID, I was actually asking myself, maybe I should have become a doctor, so I could help some the people faster during the time.
But was there like a turning point event? Was there something that made you realize na I want to fight for the rights of seafarers? Was there a moment like that made you want to become a lawyer?
Where there were several moments, of course. It's a it's a series of events. It's not unfortunate. Don't worry. Sometimes you ask yourself why are these things happening when you open your eyes, diba? Um, then you ask yourself why are people not doing their best or something like that. But in the end, or why are some people, why are there some classes who are abusing other classes? These are not classes in MAAP. I mean, social classes. Then,
Right.
of course, personal experiences. Growing up in Hagonoy, Bulacan, there were not a lot of lawyers there. Maybe around less than five, something like that. Maybe now they're more. Uh, I have a niece who's also a lawyer, I think. Uh, then maybe I'm getting lost in my story. But the whole point is, I really decided to be a lawyer because I love fighting for something. You know, when we don't fight, then people just push around. You know, if we don't fight for our basic rights, especially, they will just keep doing. They start good, then the people will just keep pushing and abusing. You know, even if they don't want to, human nature will push them that way. So you have to push back and maintain a space wherein democracy can freely thrive. If that's a good answer now.
Of course, of
Yes.
course. Yes. Okay.
But
So
if
let's.
anecdotally, I think yeah, I did experience injustices. You know,
Mm,
and not being punished. These are just basic injustices, but these are part of the experiences inside the academy. Um, there's many of them, but definitely you have to take them with you and develop whatever you have experienced and make it as a moving force to further evolve. That's it,
mm.
ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's go to one of the most pressing legal concerns of seafarers,
Okay, this is
often
legal.
brought up in often brought up in seafarers' rights dialogues, and
Mm-hmm.
actually we also hear it in Senate
Mm-hmm.
hearings, in Congress
Yes.
hearings that cover migrant workers now. So this is called ambulance chasing. So,
Yes.
attorney, what's ambulance chasing, and why is it such a big issue?
Well, basically, ambulance chasing, as the word implies, these are the lawyers who are actually chasing the ambulance or moving into areas where there are injured people or injured seafarers, particularly here. And then they promise so many things. They even would like you to get loans from them just for them to pursue your case. And of course, you thought you're gonna get a good deal. Seafarers will think that way. Oh, I'm gonna have a loan. I can stay on land. Of course, this is human nature. Then what will happen is maybe they'll get 30 to maybe half of the claim. Then when the case is overturned, when the decision is overturned later on, um, they will have nothing to give back to the shipping companies who have paid them earlier. Um, then of course because they gave so much to their lawyers. But to balance it out, I always say the seafarer is a small man, and shipping companies they have been there for so long. Um, it's a form of social justice to already give this to the seafarers at that point because they have no job. They cannot go back to the sea at that point. While we respect that the fact that we must also protect the business side, it is through social justice that we are now protecting the seafarers. These are like the farmers, but of course they're much better paid because they're sacrificing um, their time and risking their lives every minute while at sea and sometimes even on land. So that's how I balance it out. I always tell people who ask me, there won't be any claim to process anyway if the shipping companies just do the right thing in the first place, just took care of the seafarer in the first place. So yeah, we have to balance it out because actually this is the job of the government when they're crafting laws. They will have to balance all the interests and eventually make a good law that will protect the seafarer and at the same time encourage the growth of the maritime industry. Okay, that's it.
Okay. All right. So, sir, have you personally been approached by a seafarer who has been a victim of ambulance chasing? Like, have they sought advice from you at any point? No, what would you
I
tell?
no, I haven't been approached by seafarers who suffered from uh, ambulance chasers,
Mm-hmm.
but I was approached by seafarers who wants me to be an ambulance chaser.
Oh,
So
how does
yeah,
that work, sir?
because I said to them, they're a group, so this is gonna be a class suit. So can I'm telling them, okay, I'm gonna just fix my acceptance fee like this. So we're gonna divide it among yourselves. Then they said, sir, we cannot give you, for example, we cannot give you 10,000, sir. Like, oh, it's okay. Let's make it installment. Um, you could just pay me whenever there's an event. For example, I filed a paper on in court or made a memo or an explanation. Then for every event, maybe let's can you give me at least 2,500? Then I said, no, sir, we cannot do that. I've already talked to all my friends here who are also suffering the same fate. So okay, so you would not give me anything. So what would you like? So but you like me to fight for everything for all of you. And then the seafarer from his mouth, uh, he said, "Sir, hindi ba pwede sir yung yung sa dulo na lang po, kahit po 30% sa inyo, kahit po kalahati. Basta kayo na lang po lahat." And I said, "No. No. This is ambulance chasing. You're forcing me to be an ambulance chaser." So anyway, what I did was I think I gave them solid advice on what to do next. And I'm gonna refer them to a certain union to help them in their case, in their plight. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very convoluted problem, but
Right.
it's very simple in the first place. There shouldn't be any
Mm-mm.
problem at all when we protect the seafarer in the first place, because there won't be any claim. I think, but let me go to the point of view of the manning agencies and principals. Okay, so, but I think sometimes, yes, they do their best. They give all the claims, and then I think they've experienced or it left a bad taste in their mouth when some malefactors, when they think that the seafarers are being forced to process a claim, and when they think the claim is unfair. Okay, but of course, that's the whole purpose of having a court also. So then present everything in court, right?
Right. Mm-mm.
But of course, it's gonna be longer. Anything that's longer, it's gonna be bad for the small man. And who is the small man here? It's a seafarer.
Mm-mm.
Because the
Okay.
shipping industry will just go on and on even without the seafarer, without a particular seafarer, no? But that's what I
Mm.
mean. Of
Right.
course, it won't continue without seafarers at all. Okay.
Yes, yes, of course.
Hmm.
Mm-mm. Okay, so let's go to another pressing issue now. So, what are your thoughts on the version of the Magna Carta for seafarers that is advancing in
Hmm.
Congress? There are some rights groups who are saying that the one that's advancing in Congress is a watered down version of the bill that another version includes
Hmm.
fishers and domestic seafarers. So these
Hmm.
two are said to be excluded from the version that is now passing through the Congress and also said to be more advantageous to the business side or the employers or the manning agency. So, what are your thoughts on this, attorney?
Uh, when I was asked of these things, my first thought is let them do their job. Let Congress do their job. Let the people also do their job. Let all the rights group uh, approach all our lawmakers, give suggestions. But if we are seeing that it's moving towards the bigger man, then maybe we should all again look and you're there. Uh, we have social media, so we should be clamoring for more rights of the seafarer, especially no diminution of rights, because we already have rights from the MLC, and of course from the labor code we also have. So what we do need is really just to write all these things. That's why it's called Magna Carta. You're just summarizing everything that's actually being applied right now. Um, I believe Congress has the best minds. I just I know because most of my alumni in law school are there. Uh, but my point is, hopefully, they will lend an ear to the small man, to the seafarers, to the workers group, uh, especially the domestic shipping, and of course the fisher folks, because how many percent, how many seafarers locally do we have? How many fishermen do we have that are also at sea? Diba? They are also working at sea. So if we're not gonna, what makes them different? They also have the same. They also have the same dangers and risks, right? Are you gonna say, oh,
Right.
they're in Philippine waters, they're safer, right?
Mm, mm-mm. Mm-mm. All right. Good answer, sir. So I want to go to how you always like to refer to the big man and the small man. No, so you can really see that there's like an inequality here and that there's always a need to strive for social justice. So for our last question, sir. So while many of us are probably aware of the hundreds of thousands of Filipinos becoming seafarers, one could say that they're an invisible sector. You don't see seafarers every day. So as a seafarer turned lawyer, why do you think it's important to represent this sector, and what do you hope for the sector?
It's actually bringing tear to my eye, no? I don't know why with that word. Kasi we're bringing so much towards the development of the country. So much dollars. And sacrificing so much too. And I actually had this experience in law school. I was asked where during the first week you have to introduce. Uh, they said to me, "Oh, who are you? What's your job?" I was a seafarer, sir. And they asked me, "Oh, why are you here? Ano ginagawa mo dito, iho?"
Mm-mm.
Parang, okay, why do you have to ask me like that? You know, I also have classmates who are from different fields. You know, there are nurses there, there are working people there from different fields. So why are you singling me out? That feeling never left me, even up to the point that I was taking the oath to be a lawyer. Uh, why are why are seafarers always left out? That's the biggest question. And we have the biggest union to represent us. We have so many groups. I don't know. Do we need more lobbying? What do we need more? What do we need to do? Do we need a seafarer president? Maybe I don't know. Uh, because some parts of the society, uh, at least at least this month, right? We're thinking of seafarers, but hopefully, we think of them, the larger group of people, the OFWs, seafarers, more often. It's very hard. That's why even when during my experience, you know, sabi ko nga, most of my family, mother side, nasa Amerika. So, syempre, bili mo ako sapatos, ganyan. You hear other people, oh, chocolate, ganyan, ganyan. Oh, di ka man na nagpainom. These are the same things that we say to seafarers, of course. But when I experience it firsthand, no, it's hard. It's hard. Akala nyo lang pagdating dito, umuulan ng pera or ng dollar. Each dollar na yan, pinagpaguran yan. And actually right now, it's a good thing that seafarers, we have social media. They are really now posting what they're doing on board so that the family know how each dollar was earned. Um, it's really hard. If you compare it to other jobs, land-based jobs, who have no risk at all in other countries, you know, seafarers are earning little compared to these people. Yet we are exposed to so many dangers, exposed to not getting the right amount of salary, not being able to go home, not having the right food, or having the right food but not the right nutrients, being exposed to chemicals. These are all facts of life that each and every one of my friends tell me they already feel their backs. They ask me, silently, how did it start? So I tell them so and how to correct it. Hopefully, through this, you know, we contribute a little part so that seafarers will be more recognized. I think Vice Admiral Santos has a TV show on Channel 4. I think I forgot already if it's still on. I think once a week. Things like this. Maybe we need the teleserye or Korean novela that's about seafarers. I don't know. We need
Mm-mm.
to reach out to the millennials. Um, maybe seafarer TikToking contest, whatever. Uh, because it must be in the forefront of each and everyone. When you're in a class or maybe in your school, there's always one or two, na pag PTA meeting walang kasamang magulang, 'di ba? Because the mom is working, then yung dad seaman. We all know someone na anak ng seafarer. Um, we know na may long-term effects 'yan. We could adjust, 'di ba? But of course, it's still a very delicate job. It's a balancing act, 'di ba? Because if you earn too much money, you have no time. 'Di ba? You're balancing it. It's literally like that, 'di ba? And when you're abroad, 'di ba? When you get to these ports, 'di ba? If you're if you're not gonna control yourself, you're gonna go drinking spree with your shipmates. That's it. Uh, but of course, that's the old style of seafaring. Right now, most young seafarers, they're focused on how how to maximize their time on board, how to save up, so that when they anytime or at least in their 40s, early 40s, they could stop, have a business here or teach here. Allied subject. In lawyering, there's a lot of methods how to be a lawyer. Okay, you could teach, you could go to court, you could go to a corporation, you could advise, di ba? You could lead GOCCs, you could be a politician if you like. But of course you're always applying the things that you've learned as a lawyer. Sorry. But then as a seafarer, sometimes the choices are limited. Hopefully we will have more choices, if our domestic shipping is more lively. Then of course if there are more maritime schools, and then of course we're calling on the different agencies, especially I think DMW, POEA, they have different balikbayan programs. Maybe they could cater specific program for seafarers. I think they already have, but we must market it so that every seafarer who goes back at home knows that, uy, may program yung gobyerno, I could do this, I could do that. But, to really convince them that there's really life after the ship. Di ba?
All right. Okay, sir. Thank you very much for sharing with us
Yes.
your comprehensive list of
No,
your
it's,
dreams for
as,
seafarers,
as,
sir. Mm-mm.
yeah, sorry for that,
Mm-mm.
but
Of
that's
course,
how,
no, 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 no,
I
no, no.
see it.
Don't apologize. I think seafarers, this, di ba nga we were talking about how they were invisible. So it's good that they have people to speak out for them and to talk about the
Yes.
many things that they need. So
Yes.
I think we can end there, Attorney Nico. So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this chance. Hopefully, we put a drop in the bucket so seafarers will be known. Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope what I've said will be taken with a grain of salt from the sea.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay po. Thank you, sir. So
Yeah.
again, you're tuned into At Home sa Abroad on Rappler. I'm Michelle Abad. Thank you for listening.